The Sporting Focus in Seattle is back on college basketball, particularly on the Huskies on the campus of the University of Washington. USC is tied for fourth in the conference. Washington is sixth as they hook up tonight at the Bank of America Arena in Seattle. Welcome in to Pac-10 Ball on FSN with Larry Farmer. I'm Brian Davis. That three-game losing streak has put Washington's NCAA tournament hopes in some jeopardy. But the Trojans also have a serious issue with the injury to Gabe Pruitt, the guy who has become the straw that stirs the Trojan drink. Out at least for the rest of the regular season with a leg injury that puts all kinds of pressure on every one of his teammates, including Lodrick Stewart.
Yeah, Lodrick Stewart, the local Seattle product from Rainier Beach High School. He comes into this ball game averaging 12 points a game, but in his two previous visits to Seattle, shot just 39%, so he'll definitely have to play well within himself and not press the issue.
Washington lost at California in overtime at Stanford and then suffered its most lopsided loss of the season by 13 last weekend at Washington State. Lorenzo Romar is changing his mix. He's going to start Mike Jensen ahead of Jamal Williams.
Well, certainly Jamal Williams has been inconsistent, but you can't blame everything on him. But Mike Jensen comes into this ball game with 87 career starts, so that's not going to be new to him. He can score the basketball. He's a terrific rebounder. He's going to add size to the Husky lineup.
Now, Pruitt accounts for about 25% of the Trojans' scoring output, but they still have their leading scorer and rebounder, Nick Young, who a couple of weeks ago at Oregon State hit the game winner in overtime. That key to sweep in Corvallis and Eugene. Watch out for him. And then Washington could use a little bit of senior leadership, and Bobby Jones could provide that. He had a career high, tied his career best with 22 against USC last month. Tip-off is next in Seattle. The injury to Gabe Pruitt forces Tim Floyd to insert a true freshman into his lineup. So we take a look at USC's starting five ahead of tip-off here at the Bank of America Arena in Seattle. Siad Odzik out of the Chicago area, Skokie, Illinois.
And Odzik is really going to have to not only focus on his perimeter shooting, but his defense and his defensive rebounding as well.
Tim Floyd back in the collegiate ranks after 5 seasons in the NBA. Get him a hard hat. He is truly rebuilding this USC program. And man, at 15-7, they've already got 3 more wins they had last year. He has done a terrific job. For the Huskies of the University of Washington, Jensen in the starting lineup. Let's monitor the play of the freshman point guard, Justin Dentman.
Justin Dentman comes into this ball game averaging 4 assists per game, but struggled in the last 2 ball games and did not register one, so his passing is going to be key in this game.
An 86-77 victory in which the Huskies led by 19, then had to hang on in the second half. Left Lorenzo Romar 6-1 all time against the Trojans of the University of Southern California. Last time out, mentioned the final 86-77. That is a career, or rather a season high against USC, but Bobby Jones matched his career high as the Huskies hung on. They turned the ball over a ton.
But they were plus 22 on the boards, and that's really been their strength and one of USC's weaknesses. They have not been good on the board, so that's going to be something that if USC is going to have any chance at all here, they're going to have to do a much better job of the defensive board and the offensive rebound.
Take a look at Lodrick Stewart, the junior out of Rainier Beach High School here in Seattle. Played a little high school ball against, we had a glimpse of Brandon Roy, the senior out of Garfield High in Seattle. At 500, Washington trying to break a 3-game conference losing streak. They are trying to secure their 3rd consecutive NCAA tournament bid for the first time since 1984, 5, and 6.
And the best way to turn a losing streak around is to come home and play well and to regain some of the confidence that you've obviously lost through that 3-game skid.
Jensen and Njai put it up. Mike Jensen knocks it toward the scorer's table, but Brandon Roy saves. Washington, the highest scoring offense in the country at 84 points a game, is in business off the feed. Denton to Roy.
And with Washington immediately attacking the basket, USC is going to have to play their pressure man-to-man defense, maybe sprinkle in a little bit zone, but their bench has been appreciably shortened. Ordinarily they play 8. They're going to be down to 7, or they're going to be playing a couple of guys who really haven't had a great deal of playing experience.
Ryan Francis, the freshman out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, pushed all the way out by Detman. This is the freshman Odzik on the ball. He gets it back and misses wide. Rebound Jensen. Washington in transition. The Huskies love to run. Jones jump stop to Brockman inside. The little hook shot rebounded Young.
And again, those first 2 possessions, Washington really playing aggressively, looking to get the ball to the high percentage scoring area and attack the SC defense.
And a foul called on Nick Young. He saw an opportunity, but wound up taking the body to his man, and Washington retains possession side out. Lorenzo Romar's got a problem with the call.
Well, there was some indecision because initially that call was made against Nick Young, and then it appeared that one of the other officials thought that that call had been made against Bobby Jones, but they huddled up and they got that right.
Young is charged with the personal foul. Bobby Jones throws it away, put way too much air into it. Jones, one of 2 seniors in Lorenzo Romar's starting lineup out of Compton, California. Played with the Chicago Bulls' Tyson Chandler 3 years at Dominguez High School before he finished up at Long Beach Poly.
Bobby Jones desperately needs to avoid foul trouble. He has, throughout his career, been a player that has been plagued with fouls, but played just 16 minutes against Washington State, scoring 10 points. So Bobby Jones definitely needs to curtail his fouling so he can play longer and more extended periods of time.
That's what happens when you have to shake up your lineup. A communication issue leads to the turnover, as Njai thought that Odzik would break to the basket and threw the ball away.
Definitely the difference between a jump shooter and a slasher.
Off of Brandon Roy's hands, out of bounds to USC. Talk about Washington's offensive prowess, but this is a Tim Floyd team. This team is 3rd in the Pac-10 in field goal defense, in turnover margin, and in steals. Now, Pruitt had a lot to do with this, but they also led the league coming into this ball game at 3-pointers made a game at 6.5.
Yeah, Pruitt 2nd in the conference in steals.
Odzik off balance, is fouled by Dentman. Ball won't drop, but he'll go to the line.
And that is one way to alleviate pressure, is by back cutting. And you see the nice back cut right there by Odzik. Dentman arriving late, and anytime you run a spread court offense, as USC is doing, that help side defense from Washington has definitely got to be alert. If the strong side defense is up, pressuring the ball and denying, that help side's got to get off an extra step to be aware of back doors and dribble penetration.
This is Odzik's 3rd start of the season. He averages 14 minutes a game, makes them both. So he is now a robust 8 of 13 on the season, and we are tied. Jensen fires in for Jones, and Francis went for the strip, but instead draws a foul call.
You see the nice interior pass right there to Bobby Jones. And the collective mindset of the Washington Huskies has been, we're going to attack. We're going to use our size. We're going to use our ability to penetrate, and we're going to get the ball as close to the basket against this USC defense as possible.
Foul was called on Keith Wilkinson, freshman out of Mission Viejo High School, who is now in the lineup for Tim Floyd. Jones, we talked about tying his career high at the Los Angeles Sports Arena on January the 12th. That sweep in Los Angeles, then at UCLA, earned him Player of the Week on Pac-10. Off the miss, Huskies clean it up.
And USC now in a 2-3 zone defense. And Tim Floyd probably forced to use this defense a lot more than he would ordinarily like to.
Dentman, shot won't fall. Brockman can't handle the rebound. Young comes away with it. Washington 1 of 4 from the floor in the early going. They made their first shot. They've missed everything since.
SC doing a very nice job that time of boxing out in that zone defense, and in that 2-3 zone defense they will be very vulnerable to offensive rebounding, Washington being the best offensive rebounding team in the Pac-10 Conference.
Lodrick Stewart on the ball. He has not shot the ball well his first 2 seasons coming back to his hometown with the Trojans. Shot clock winding down as the Huskies extend the defense and force Young to chuck one up. No iron, shot clock violation. Tremendous defensive effort by Washington.
Absolutely. USC is going to be very patient and run their offense and try to take the first back door, the first clean lift they can get. But that time, in their patience, the pressure from Washington as the shot clock got closer and closer to 0, Washington's pressure went up. And that's what you want as a coach. I'm sure Coach Romar would like to see more of that, 38 minutes of that kind of defense where the pressure increases as opposed to decreasing.
Jensen and Brockman on the bench for the Huskies. Ryan Appleby there on the ball, along with Jamal Williams now into the rotation, and Roy goes up just inside the paint and is fouled in the act of shooting by Ryan Francis. Third team foul with 3.5 minutes into the ball game.
And I really and truly believe that's because of Washington's attack mentality. They are really trying to push the ball and get it close to the basket.
Not bad, he was not shooting. Williams trying to post up Wilkinson, little floater, he's short with it. The rebound, Jones. Tip to Appleby. Detman, no look pass inside Williams with the payoff.
And that's got to feel good for Detman. Again, we mentioned that he had come off of 2 ball games where he had 0 assists.
And he has 2 here in the early going. Object followed by Appleby, looking for help. First option wasn't there.
USC's really got this court spread.
Young missed it all. No iron on that shot.
That's where a player like Gabe Pruitt comes in, and he's so valuable. When you hold the ball, great interior pass, basket by Jones. When you hold the ball and you spread the defense out, toward the end of the shot clock, you need players that are cool, calm, and collected that can create their own shot and certainly finish. So now you've got one less player in that USC lineup that can do that.
Stewart tried to find Young. White jersey got in between. Appleby in transition. Rebound, run, knocked off the ball. And a scramble. Lodrick Stewart is there. And Brandon Roy with the floor burn and the save. Jones for 3. Wilkinson, who is playing on a provisional scholarship, with the rebound.
Keith Wilkinson going to be one of those Trojans that perhaps today is going to get valuable minutes because of the short bench.
Francis is long. That is only the 4th field goal attempt by the Trojans here, and we're already 5.5 minutes into the ball game. Appleby from the other corner. Bang! Ryan Appleby is deadly from the 3-point arc. This sophomore out of Stanwood, Washington, north of Seattle, transferred from the University of Florida, and that 3 ball gives Washington a 10-2 lead.
Well, Appleby is one of those players that what you see him shoot in the game is exactly the way he practiced it. He gets great elevation. His pre-shot routine is the same. He's got great elevation on his shot, tremendous concentration, and when you're a terrific shooter anyway, that's going to be the result. The extra pass inside to Bobby Jones from Jamal Williams, and that's a fun way to play basketball. You know, Washington, we talked about them being one of the leading assist teams in the conference. And when they weren't playing well during those 3 losses, they weren't sharing the ball. At least their offense wasn't generating those type of plays where they were getting assists on baskets.
Well, if you just look at the numbers, and in that 3-game losing streak after a 16-2 start, their assists per game went down from 19 to 10. Take a look I mentioned the assist, but also the field goal percentage, and their scoring then dropped, Larry, from 87 points a game to 67.
Well, you expect a little bit of a drop-off when conference starts, especially when you hit the midpoint of conference, because you're going to be scouted. Teams are going to send more players back to prevent you from being in transition. High-scoring teams, obviously, are teams that like to run their fast break.
Njai beans Romar with another errant pass. 4 turnovers for the Trojans, and the Huskies have an 8-point lead early at the B of A. 8.5 minutes into the first half. Washington 6 of 12 from the floor. USC 0 for 9. Washington with a great inbounds play for Brandon Roy.
You see Roy with the quick post up, and then the great move. He knows he's in traffic, takes his time, up fakes, and that's what gives him that free look at the basket.
Hey, when we heard from him a couple of minutes ago on the broadcast, did you notice what he was wearing? The blanket around the neck. He takes a nap before the game. That's the blanket he wears to get himself warm. Doesn't want to come into the game cold.
And with the way he's been playing, you know, I would bring the blanket if I were Coach Romar.
He is second to Hassan Adams in the Pac-10, averaging just a tick under 19 points a game. You see the numbers. Had a double-double at USC in January. 23 points, 12 rebounds. Stewart thought about it and pulled the ball down. Francis driving on Appleby and left for the freshman Odzik, who came too far up the line. That is the 5th Trojan turnover. Williams, double team, leaving Detman open. Blackwood Stewart the rebound. 11-point margin. UCLA, which will be in this building on Saturday, dismantled Washington State in Pullman tonight, 50-30. First half looked a little bit like this.
Well, SC, you can tell they're pressing right now, and they're trying to find answers as Nick Young picks up that offensive foul. And you get a sense that right now they're playing without purpose in their offense. They want to take their time and take time off the clock by setting good screens and getting hard cuts. But right now they're not finishing. They're not getting a consistent, clean look at the basket, which is hurting them. And then they turn the ball over.
Floyd is going to have to go get Young. That is his second foul. Now all of a sudden Washington big with Jensen and Brockman both on the floor against this undersized USC lineup.
Well, this is going to put a lot more pressure on USC, as Nick Young is going to stay in the ballgame with those 2 fouls, and Odzik is going to come out, but it's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on USC to box out.
Jones missed everything. Dwayne Shackelford brings it up in transition for USC, which has yet to make a field goal. Into the corner, ball faked by Stewart, looking for a rub from Young. Not pretty, but it works as finally, not quite 10 minutes into the ball game, the Trojans score off the floor.
And they need him to get going, and not so much taking shots like that off the dribble where he really has to work hard, but to get a couple of easy baskets, get himself to that foul line.
Appleby galloping toward the rack, and he's fouled by Stewart. 7th team foul against USC. 3 for Washington. You see Phil Johnson, Tim Floyd's assistant, was with him with the Bulls in Chicago. Comes to USC after his second stint as the head coach at San Jose State.
Coming over and watching their shoot around today, their staff has great chemistry, and there was a lot of interaction between the coaching staff and the players. And I thought there were some very intense moments, but there were also some very light moments.
Appleby hits the second free throw, and 5 points to share the scoring lead with Williams. Brandon Burmeister on the floor now. Junior out of Mercer Island High School here in the Seattle area. Shackelford lays it into Young, and he's bumped by Jones. That's his first.
And see, those are the kind of fouls that, as a senior, Bobby Jones has got to eliminate. You know, you want to deny the basketball to Nick Young, obviously, and force him away from the basket, but then once he catches, you don't reach in.
+1, Nick Young scores on the nice drive around Jones. He's got kind of an odd gait, very open, almost like he gallops down in there.
And his first step is very misleading because it is so long and he takes it so quickly that oftentimes you get lulled into thinking that he's not quite as fast as he is, but then Nick Young is by you, and he's very creative once he gets to the basket.
Sophomore out of Cleveland High School in Los Angeles, leading the Trojans 17 points and 6+ rebounds a game. 3-point play. It's an 8-point game. Remember, January 12th at the Sports Arena in Los Angeles. Washington led by as many as 19 points. Trojans cut it to 3. Burmeister's long offensive rebound knocked away from Jensen, and Francis into the second row trying to make the save. That is a total Tim Floyd player right there. Ryan Francis, the freshman out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This young man is all effort. Look out, Coach.
He's just not going to be denied. You see, Coach Floyd right there, he got his hands sort of like, you know, I'm out of your way, so it's on you, big fella. You learn real quickly as a coach not to try to catch those players because they will take you with them. But what a great effort that time by Ryan Francis.
Denton scores to reestablish a double-digit lead now for Washington, and Young doesn't like what he sees with the Huskies' pressure and the way the Trojans were setting up, and he calls timeout.
Well, you're down 10, and you don't want another quick turnover that would lead to another basket, which now ignites a Husky run. So an ill-advised timeout, but one that needed to be called because possessions right now when you're behind are very important.
For our viewers in the Pacific Northwest, stay tuned after the game for FSN Live. We'll have the complete breakdown of tonight's hoops action. Plus, we honor Black History Month with Bobby Jones, FSN Live, after the game on FSN. And viewers in California will get your nightly installment of the Southern California Sports Report. Lorenzo Romar, his team 2 years ago lost 5 consecutive Pac-10 games and then railed off a 14-2 run that took them all the way to the championship game of the conference tournament. They lost there and went on to the first round of the NCAA tournament, where they also lost to UAB. But that was a pretty good finish off of a long losing streak.
And it's those kind of experiences that the seniors on this basketball team can share with the younger players and keep their spirits up during that 3-game slide that the Huskies had just experienced.
Another air ball for Francis. Roy beats the trap. Jones pops it up. Knocked out of bounds. Last off of Nick Young. Thought the official was going to deliver the Gettysburg Address. He was explaining himself in such detail.
Well, you know, you applaud that kind of effort by both teams, and you know, when you have two players both pointing in the opposite direction, I like it when officials will explain that, just like I like the way the Huskies are sharing the basketball. That extra pass on the interior is leading to high percentage looks. That's a fun way to play basketball. 5
assists now for Washington. USC 2 of 12 now from the floor and without an assist, which supports your suggestion as Young goes to the rack and he'll shoot a pair. This offense is completely broken down. They're essentially playing street ball. They're out of their sets, and assist is often a good way to measure that.
They're in their sets, but it's breaking down because of the defense. And then when you eliminate a 17-point per game scorer who gets to the free throw line, you know, at a rate of 4 per game, that changes the way your offense can approach scoring. So now you've got other players that are going to have to make up the difference, and they're so accustomed to playing, and there's Gabe Pruitt right there. They're so accustomed to playing with him, particularly when they need baskets. He's a go-to guy. He's a three-point shooter. He can get to the basket. So you take a lot out of that offensive punch when you take Gabe Pruitt out of your lineup.
Well, he was 0 for 6 against Washington in January, then scored 21 points all in the second half. Jensen with the Newport fall. Stewart rebounds. Has his pocket picked by Jones. And you can put an exclamation point on that one. Shackelford beyond the arc, but the play is blown down. I think they've got Ryan Francis for his second personal foul. And into the second half of the first 20 at B of A, the Huskies have doubled the Trojans. It's amazing how fragile the balance can become. You start 16-2, but then all of a sudden you lose 3 in a row. You're even 5-5 in the Pac-10. Bobby Jones talking about getting back into a rhythm to keep the NCAA tournament hopes alive.
The committee look at teams' overall records, but at the same time how you finish the season compared to how you start. And when we made it to the tournament that year, we finished strong. So if they see that we didn't finish strong, we might not even make the tournament depending on how we did in the Pac-10 conference tournament. So there's a lot at stake, and we just want to let all the young dudes and everybody know what was at stake, and that we don't want to look back a month from now and be like, we should have did something else. We could still, change our destiny right now.
Jones talking about that 0-5 Pac-10 start in 2004. Roy with the offensive rebound, the field goal, and he will get a free throw on top of that.
With 8 games left in the conference, that is great stuff from Bobby Jones. You see the outside shot by Ryan Appleby. Brandon Roy at his size is very strong, and he does a terrific job of assuming the shots missed and getting great inside-out position, which is why he gets his hands on so many offensive rebounds for a guard.
Roy with a chance to pull even with a game-high 7 points. Young and Jones, and now Roy each with 7, and Washington with a 15-point lead. USC playing not only without Gabe Pruitt, but without Rashawn Cromwell, who is a guy who has given them much. But Odzik, the freshman from Skokie, Illinois, with the field goal, attacking the basket, and back at the other end, Brockman. Sweet move. The reverse off the feed, which is Washington's 6th assist in the loss at Washington State last week. That's as many as they had all night.
And this is how the Huskies play basketball. It's with a lot of man movement, a lot of ball movement. It's sharing the ball, it's being unselfish.
The save by Roy into the hands of Jeremy Barr, the Bahamian freshman who makes Washington pay.
It's great hustle play by Brandon Roy, but the rule of thumb is you never save the ball if you can't throw it to a teammate underneath the opponent's basket.
Williams with the shot. Brockman trying to go over a Trojan player. Nearly goes behind over Tea Kettle. Bottom line is it's out of bounds to Washington again. Take another look at that last.
Boy, Jamal Williams, he catches the ball and spots a cutting Brockman, and Brockman not giving up on the play, although he was on the opposite side, but completing his cut, and he's rewarded with that completed cut by a great pass and an easy finish.
Another inbounds play for Roy, and does everything but finish. Francis in transition. USC now big with Njai and Barr both on the floor. USC started 0 of 9 from the field. 4 of 5 though, Larry, since. Including one by the freshman Odzik, who has his rejected with some authority by Jamal Williams. I think on the playground that get that stuff out of here.
See, at Odzik, when he goes in, he's being challenged, and Dittman cuts off his dribble penetration, and Jamal Williams comes over and finishes it off. But again, Odzik attacking the basket. He's a jump shooter, but getting that ball closer in a high percentage area with an opportunity to get a better look, you've got to like his thinking.
Lodrick Stewart with only 2 points so far. Not a lot of touches for this junior out of Rainier Beach High School in Seattle. Dittman tries to draw an offensive foul call, doesn't get it. Francis, and the shot clock runs out. If they'd have done that 5 seconds sooner, that might have been a good play.
And you don't know if the team as a whole had lost sight of where that shot clock was, because they didn't seem to be playing with the kind of urgency when that clock gets down below 10 seconds that you need to.
Isn't that what young teams sometimes forget to do, is communicate?
And it starts with your point guard, or at least a veteran player on the floor that will then take charge of that situation.
Appleby loses it, but Denton with the save. Appleby catching and shooting, and in short, Brockman the rebound. Another offensive board that pays off. Almost engine. Yeah, you can count that. Goaltender. That was close, though. That was very close.
Yeah, it looks close. Abdullah Njai, you watch right here. That ball's going up.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's really close. It wasn't as obvious as I thought it was at real speed. Great defensive effort by the big fella. That'll get you thinking when you drive to the basket with his length and his quick jumping ability. You start looking for him.
Stewart shows, takes it inside, is blocked by Burmeister. Roderick Stewart has seemed tentative here tonight.
Without wanting to play with the kind of urgency that might get him pressing. He's back home in Seattle, hasn't played well here before. You know, they're missing Gabe Pruitt. The stage is set for him to maybe press and try to do some things, you know, out of the flow of the offense, but he appears to be content on playing within the flow and trying to pick and choose his opportunities to score. Might have to be a little bit more aggressive, especially at the end of shot clock when he has possession of the ball.
That's about the outer edge of Brockman's range, and he lowers his shoulder and is called for charging Njai on the baseline.
SC down, and I say just 15 points. They haven't played well, and a couple of baskets like that can really ignite their confidence and get them right back into that groove that they wanted to play at with the taking time off the clock in the screen.
Roderick Stewart is a 43% three-point shooter. He's now 2 of 4 from the floor. A little bit of confusion. Appleby curling. Burmeister from 3. Count it. Washington is 2 of 8 from 3. Francis over the trees.
Just a great move to split the defenders to get himself in a position to shoot that little teardrop.
Now stealing from Denton. Stewart in the run-out. Brockman gets him from behind. Stewart with the finish and a chance for a three-point play. And all of a sudden, USC is showing some life offensively.
And that started with Ryan Francis' defense. Did a nice job on the ball, and then when he got the steal, he kicked the ball ahead to Roderick Stewart, and Roderick Stewart is now on a little bit of a roll.
Trojans making a move late first half in Seattle. Has brought the Trojans back within 11 and a chance to make it 10. Watching it shoot around this morning, Ryan Francis, the freshman, had a big smile on his face while he was working on defense. Guess now you know why.
Oh, quick active hands and smart enough to realize that if he holds on to that ball too long, they're going to call him for traveling, kicks it out, gets his team a layup.
Fouled by Brockman, the freshman out of Snohomish High School north of Seattle. If you're Brockman, do you swat at him? Because he had a good lead on you.
You try to attack the ball at the rim to see if you can block it, but anything under that basket, you're not going to do anything except foul and put your team in a position where you're going to give up an N1 and add to the Trojan resurgence right here.
Maybe the wardrobe change is working for Lodrick.
Lodrick showed up for practice today with the only player from USC with black shoes on. So Coach Floyd called him over and said, you don't plan on wearing those to the game, do you? Because everybody else is going to be wearing white shoes, and if you wear those, you're not going to play. So somewhere between practice and probably visiting with family and friends, Lodrick found a pair of white shoes to wear.
5 points in 10 seconds for the Trojans. Those are Keith Wilkinson's shoes, by the way. Pretty good intelligence in our production truck tonight. Here on the Puget Sound. Williams off the quick feed from Burmeister. Another assist, making 9 on the night on 14 made baskets. And it's back to a 12-point lead for the Huskies.
Yeah, Coach Romar talking about Jamal Williams said he just needs to find game after game, game in and game out. He's got to find a way to play with intensity, as much intensity as he can.
Burmeister loves that 3-ball just like Appleby, and he's got 2. And in transition, Burmeister makes it a 15-point Washington lead. He's only a 27% shooter this season from 3. Nick Young at the other end.
Nick Young, you can see right there with his ability to step back and step away from the defense. so creative, and he doesn't panic toward the end of the shot clock, and that's why this SC team has done so well, and I think surprisingly well, with their ability to finish their style of offense.
Nick Young forces Appleby to call timeout. Look at the hair on the dude.
He might be on your all-hair team if you start picking out guys with the
mohawk,
with the great dudes.
I don't know, huh? And then
Burmeister with the he shot that from Tacoma. He just great range.
That's the Eddie Munster cut.
Hey, when you're a good-looking kid, look at Applebee's. You know, when you're good-looking kids, you can come out with those kind of hairdos and really not take away from your social life, I guess.
Well, I'm just jealous of Appleby.
Hey, just wait till he gets a little older.
Well, you know what? I wasn't gonna say it, but it looks like there might be a little creep in there.
He might be a little follically challenged later on in life. Sort of the Andre Agassi look. You know, Andre always had that mane. And
it's all right. That's why God invented razors. Now Francis working Appleby. Washington can move the ball so quickly, and Williams, man, that's a tough shot on the baseline. He has 9. And just like that, it's back to a 15-point ball game. Had been 10.
Well, Williams really going at Nick Young that time, and Nick Young alertly not fouling.
Trojans did not score a field goal until nearly 10 minutes into the ball game. Shackelford off the back of the iron with the long shot. They are 8 of 23 now. Started 0 for 9. Burmeister says, I'll try another from the other side. Won't go. Stewart's rebound. Trojans a little slow to start the break. Stewart wanted to fire it ahead.
But alertly not forcing the issue, and with a minute and 9, and you're down 15, you throw that away. Now you're giving Washington not only an opportunity to take more time off the clock, but further put you in the hole. So if the break's there, take it. If not, come down and get in your half-court offense. And right now, SC has a chance to score, get back and set up their defense and try and get another stop.
8th team foul against the Huskies puts the Trojans into the bonus. Young 77% on the season, 6 for 6 tonight. And Tyrone Willingham is in the house, the head football coach at the University of Washington. Crystal Morrison, member of the national championship Washington volleyball team. USC is 10 of 10 on charity tonight, and that has helped as they have struggled from the floor. Here comes Colin Robinson into the ball game, as with his fellow freshman Wilkinson. He is a provisional scholarship player. Tim Floyd said, I'll give you 1 year to prove that you belong here.
And also told the parents that, you know, if this is a situation that, you know, you don't want to be involved in, I'll certainly understand that, you know, if your youngster wants to move on, but these kids want to be a part of this Trojan program.
Wilkinson actually had a pretty good game last week that helped his cause. Good defensive hustle. Washington retains possession, but with 20 seconds now on the shot clock. Roy across the three-point arc from Appleby. Little roll reversal.
With Brandon Roy, the last 3 ball games, has shot just 21%, 3 of 14 from behind the arc. So seems to have really come alive, just like his basketball team, and he's shooting the ball with much greater confidence today.
Young is short. Roy is 4 or 5. Roy gets it on the baseline and the reversal. Does a fabulous job of keeping it away from the on-rushing Njai. And it is a 17-point ball game.
And so much, as Washington falls back into that zone, has been done on making the extra pass. Burmeister that time making Brandon Roy the recipient of that extra pass for the easy look.
Couple threes, and then some work inside, and Robinson, the rebound to Njai, but it will not count. And Washington works it outside, then inside to build its 17-point lead, the biggest of the night against Tim Floyd's Trojans.
Well, Tim Floyd talked about this would be a difficult game with Gabe Pruitt available and healthy to play, so you can certainly see why he had those concerns about the Washington Huskies.
Washington's bench has outscored USC's 20-2. The Huskies feeling the need to get off the schneid, and they are halfway home at the B of A in Seattle. Consensus was that having lost 3 consecutive games, Washington needed to come back into its own building and play with a little bit of desperation, and they did in the first half.
And along with that desperation came some great team play. You see the extra pass, Brandon Roy, the recipient. Here Appleby with the nice skip pass over to Burmeister, and I thought Burmeister provided a great offensive spark, and then Bobby Jones with the steal, and the collective mindset of Washington to attack the basket as often as they could. Jamal Williams, who didn't start, with just a nice one-on-one post play, again attacking the interior defense of the USC Trojans.
20 points in the paint, sorry Larry, in the first half for Washington.
And again, the collective mindset of getting the ball as close to the basket to take advantage of size, and that's what Washington did. For the Trojans, Lodrick Stewart, although he got himself going after he made that shot, had to work very hard one-on-one to create that separation to get it. Nick Young very acrobatically driving, and once Nick Young found that groove, he got in a nice rhythm, and when he's in an offensive rhythm like that, he's difficult to stop.
Now Young, contrast, Young and Roy sharing game honors so far with 11 points, but Young 2 of 6 from the floor, 7 of 7 at the free throw line. Roy, meantime, 5 of 6 from the floor, and Washington over 50% from the field. That is not the kind of defense that Tim Floyd's Trojans usually play. They lead the Pac-10, or actually are close to the top third in the league in field goal defense, but Washington well above that. What else stands out?
And the second chance points with the Huskies getting 11, although I thought USC really did a fine job of turning up the heat as far as their defense and offensive rebounding. That's far too many. If they're going to inch their way back into this game, they can't give up those kinds of second chance points.
Trojans don't score a ton. That was the 5th time this season that they have scored less than 30 points in the half. Odzik is called for the charge. That's his second. Trojans committed a number of fouls early in the first half and then kind of backed off as they gathered themselves. And as you mentioned, Larry, they held themselves into it by remaining at least competitive rebounding.
And early in possessions, because the Washington Huskies defense is so fundamentally sound, you're not going to get great driving lanes.
Denton has hit 3 of 5 attempts from the floor.
Coming off a 14-point shooting performance against Washington State, playing with a lot more offensive confidence is Denton.
As you pointed out, though, no assist in that game or at Stanford, which for a point guard is not a good sign.
And really reflective again of how Washington was playing on offense. Certainly not like they're playing offense right now.
Reach-in foul is assessed to Justin Denton. That's his second. Young puts it on the floor, shoots over Roy and scores. Did a nice job of creating some space there.
Well, they cleared that left side out for Nick Young and allow him to go one-on-one. And, you know, he's such a terrific one-on-one basketball player. He's got that sneaky quick first step that we talked about, but he can also create space because he's got the nice step-back move on the jump shot.
Roy fouled as he turns the corner. Stewart commits his second foul. See Denton out there at the top of the arc. Here's a guy, you lose Nate Robinson, you lose Will Conroy, and you put your offense in the hands of a freshman. Right now he is not involved as Jones heaves one up. And Odzik doesn't like the call, but that will be his third, and Jones will go to the free throw line for 2.
Yeah, Odzik got caught in a mismatch that time, and he came over and he tried to extend and make himself tall, but bodied up and actually went under Bobby Jones, and that's a pretty easy call for an official.
Jones is 75% free throw shooter. Odzik was born in Yugoslavia, or what used to be Yugoslavia. Came to the United States and settled in the Chicago area when he was 4 years old. Substitution for Washington. Jones will leave. Appleby will come onto the floor. He had 3 assists. 3 of the Huskies, 12 in the first half, did Appleby. Romar with a word for his senior as Ryan Francis goes to work for the Trojans. Looking for a pick. Brockman slips it. Ball falls into the hands of Young and just does graze iron. Brockman throws it right into Young's hands and again pays the price. Saw that in the first half.
And Nick Young very alertly, basket hanging when he saw Brockman in trouble with balancing on the baseline, went right after that next pass. Sometimes, if you're the last man down on defense, you can turn around and see if you can sneak either an inbounds pass or at least a pass of that nature and turn it into points.
Roy working on Roderick Stewart. Just to see that a little bit in the high school game in Seattle. And the cleanup by Jensen.
Trapped that time.
Francis needs a timeout, and Brockman and Francis kind of tangle up as Brockman heads for the bench, but Tim Floyd has greater concerns. His guys now down 18 early second half. Mike Jensen, one of 8 Washington players who have scored tonight. 54% from the floor. Francis quickly to Stewart. Again, doesn't pull the trigger. Does he not have confidence right now in his shot?
I think he's sitting down and he's taking his time and not trying to pull the trigger too early, as we talked about. Roderick Stewart just playing within himself.
Young is fouled. Roy got him.
You know, that's all a part of that, playing with patience and playing with poise.
3 personals now on Roy. Lorenzo Romar did see his bench outscore Tim Floyd's 20-2 in the first half, so he does have options, but you never want to lose your captain.
And Roy's so vital to this team because outside of Roy and Justin Dentman, who can create offense not only for themselves but also teammates, when you eliminate those 2 guys, now all of a sudden you have to rely far more on your ability to execute on offense than actually having a couple of players that can break down pressure and create offense.
Young splits the difference. His miss was the first of the night for USC. They're 11 of 12 from the line. Washington 6 of 9. Ryan Francis, a state champion in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Last season, his team went 36-0. Working on defense, but on the other end of the floor at the other side, Roy beats Stewart for another deuce, and it's a 20-point ball game. Brandon Roy with 14 points.
And Roy and Appleby that time reversing roles, where Appleby, the setup guy off dribble penetration, finding Roy for the open jump shot.
Here's Njai. He's been quiet tonight. That's his first field goal and his first points. Appleby's got 4 assists to lead Washington. Jensen, a little bit short.
Njai with a rebound. He's only played basketball for 3 years, and you can see that he's a terrific athlete, but he's just a little raw and playing within his role, rebounding, blocking shots, taking shots in the paint at point-blank range are those benefits that he brings to this USC team.
Njai is from Dakar in Senegal. Came to the University of Southern California by way of Kentucky, and then the University of Southern Idaho, where he played for Gib Arnold, who is next to Tim Floyd on the USC bench. Dentman has to leave the game after stepping into Francis on the drive to the basket, and that is his 3rd personal foul. Jensen also sits.
You look at the fouls as they mounted up against the Washington Huskies. If SC could mount any kind of a charge, and get themselves within striking range before the 10-minute mark, and they would really have themselves in a position where they could start to really take time off the clock and attack the basket because of the Husky foul situation.
Look at Francis get up on block. You're a foot taller, I don't care. Roy. Now Brockman left alone. Can't quite finish it, but the ball falls to Williams. Roy with the offensive rebound, and he scores, and he has another chance at a three-point play. Boy, you want to talk about tenacity and senior leadership, Your Honor? We present to you Exhibit A. Their hydroplane racing, and that is one of the greatest that ever drove a boat, Chip Hanauer. But what's he doing here? He's a Cougar.
He likes good basketball.
Now, we picked this guy up because of the hairline. Actually, that's Rick's son, the general manager of the NBA's Seattle Sonics, who will return to action tomorrow night at Key Arena in Seattle, coming off of a 4-game road trip in which they lost every game. Tyrone Willingham and the national volleyball champion Crystal Morrison enjoying some conversation as their basketball brethren have built now a 20-point lead. Brandon Roy on 7 of 9 shooting from the floor, 17 points. He's got 7 rebounds as well, so he's working on his second double-double of the year against the Trojans.
And he's so patient on offense, doesn't press, doesn't force anything, but he gets to that offensive board and he creates scoring opportunities for himself so he can get it in the flow.
Young didn't quite know what to do. Francis spinning on Appleby, has it deflected. Brockman really scored into the other guy's basket, but it falls to Roy in transition. Young in the way, tries to bounce it off Williams, but it falls to Odzik, who's now playing with 4 personal fouls.
Young just doing so many different things. Hustle plays, scoring, taking the ball on late in possessions, going one-on-one.
Stewart caught in the trees and away from the ball. Foul is called against Jones. He's got 3 now. 14 fouls aside. Detman back in the ball game. He'll play with 3 personals.
Coach Romar talked to us today about his basketball team playing for 38 minutes, 39 minutes, or 40 minutes, and not 26 where they play hard and focused.
Offensive rebounding has helped the Huskies tonight. Brockman gets another, and Detman with the payoff. Detman 4 of 6 from the floor, 8 points. Brockman with 4 rebounds, and give him an assist there. Romar wants his guys to extend it defensively.
Yeah, they've dropped back into a zone defense now to change pace a little bit. Force USC to shoot the ball from the outside.
Odzik runs into a double. Stewart off the rotation. Young to rebound. Scoops and will not score, but is fouled by Brockman. He's been getting beat up in the post just a little bit, has Young, and he's been complaining to the officials about it. That's not a shooting foul.
But he has really worked hard at both ends of the floor, and he's tried to step his game up a notch, and you can tell that he's tried to put this USC team on his shoulders, again at the offensive end, and you saw right there, he didn't take the shot, but he really pounded the offensive board to try and give his team that second opportunity.
That augurs well for Tim Floyd and his coaching staff. Young, a sophomore. He's only got a couple of upperclassmen who make a difference on this team. That guy right there, Logic Stewart, is one, and Njai, the Senegalese who came from junior college, is the other. Take a look at how the Huskies are distributing the basketball tonight. Williams just kisses the front of the glass. The save. Wow. Francis with a dangerous play, and on the run out, Washington commits a foul.
We talk about on that defensive end, when you make a save over the baseline, if you can't toss it to your teammate, 9 times out of 10, when you make a save, it's going to the opposition, and they're going to have a shot at point-blank range. But Francis, with that behind-the-back pass, finds Otzik somehow.
Detman now with 4 fouls. If you're the coach, is that one of those? No, great play.
Great play, because you applaud the hustle, but again, percentages are against you saving the ball when you really can't find a teammate to safely pass the ball to.
We'll get to this as we go along, but Justin Denton was the subject of a very interesting profile in the Seattle newspapers today. Colin Robinson on the ball. Huskies stay in that zone. Over and back.
Colin Robinson, a freshman, has played in just 1 Pac-10 game, and Coach Floyd told us that in terms of trying to figure out a rotation and get fresh bodies into the game, that a player like Colin Robinson might have an opportunity to get some minutes.
In high school, Bobby Jones has been drawn blood, but go back to Colin Robinson at Diamond Bar High School. He broke Keith Van Horn's scoring record. That's pretty good.
That's real good, because Van Horn was an outstanding, not only high school basketball player, but football as well. Played QB.
Robinson, the freshman out of West Covina, California. And traveling, Williams took a step. It's a 7th turnover for the Huskies. Trojans have committed 11. Rebounding is now swung in Washington's favor. It's a 9-board advantage against a Trojans team that has been -10 by average the last 7 games.
The zone has given them one and done.
Right idea. They swung the ball well there.
Got an open look, but when you're not making those, and you're making those,
forget about it.
You got SC getting a couple of wide open looks from the perimeter, which that zone defense of Washington is inviting them to look at and then take. And Washington gets in transition, an extra pass.
Tough shot off the baseline for Young, which breaks up a 7-point Huskies run. Young 5 of 12 from the floor, 18 points to lead all scorers, but Williams reestablishes the 24-point lead. He's in double figures now, 11 points on 5 of 9 shooting.
And Williams, as we talked about him in the open being inconsistent, he had 4 points against Cal, but he comes back with a 20-point effort against Oregon. He had 15 against Stanford and only 2 points against Washington State. So he's been up and down, and it's that kind of performance on offense and rebounding, I think, that invited Coach Romar to make a change. But Williams certainly playing a lot better tonight.
Oh, Williams. They're going to count that. We're going to pause. Mid-second half, Washington up huge. In Seattle, Washington has outscored USC 17-10 here in the half, and Young has 7 of the Trojans' second half points.
And he's worked hard not only at that offensive end with those 7 points, but he's done a terrific job of playing defense and getting on the defensive board.
Jensen thought, why not? It's not his range, although he can step out a little bit.
Jensen's very comfortable out at the 3-point line.
Roy has 19 points on 8 of 10 shooting. He's got 8 points in the half. On the oop for Young. Through his hands, he wanted a judgment of contact with Jensen, but he is not going to get it. You think on those alley-oops that hair makes him a little more aerodynamic?
I'm not going to touch
See, I'm
that
making
one.
The hair jokes because I can't. I can't go there.
There's something I'm sure very stylish that Nick likes about his hairdo.
Retro, they're going back that way. It's all good. Roy spinning on Stewart, fouled by Stewart. continues to look at his hand or his wrist.
Yeah, it's his finger. He hurt his finger yesterday in practice, and he had those two fingers taped together about the last hour or so of the practice yesterday. There was a lot of contact. Washington really got after it. They talked about being more and more physical, especially their perimeter players. So he's nursing a hurt finger on his shooting hand.
Roy, 20 points to go along with 9 rebounds. Gets his own back, fires it into the post. Jensen blocked by Young, recovered by Francis. Trojans in transition. Stewart firing, scoring from 3. He has 11 on 4 of 8 shooting, 2 of 5 beyond the arc. But still, that makes the margin 2 dozen.
Sounds a lot better than 24.
Yeah. Says you can do that, I can do it too.
So much better is Appleby off the dribble now and getting off that shot. Came in with the reputation from Florida of being a very good catch and shoot, although he could play point guard and distribute the basketball, but he's just improved leaps and bounds by being able to create a little bit of a separation off the dribble.
It's a great point. From the corner, Shackelford for 3. All of a sudden, we're at the OK Corral. We got a shootout. Last 3 baskets have been beyond the arc. Appleby trying to feed Burmeister in the post. Actually off the legs of a Trojans defender. Francis was down there and Wilkinson, and Huskies retain the basketball with 27 seconds remaining. Brandon Roy gets a nice round of applause as he takes a seat on the bench. Jones. Calling for it in the post and stolen by Wilkinson.
That was great backside defense on the lob. They fronted Jones, and on the attempt to throw over the top, Keith Wilkinson came over to help out.
Shackelford 2 for 2 now. 2 of 3 on the night. He's buried 2 triples in a row. Smith at the other end. Young is bumped by Burmeister on the rebound. 7th team foul against Washington. That's going to put the Trojans into the 1-and-1 bonus. USC has made its last 3 3-point attempts. I mentioned they're good for 6.5 a game. Tonight they're 4 of 15, and doing so without the guy who leads them with 4+ made a game, 3+ made a game, Gabe Pruitt. Getting out with the leg injury. Cracked the bone basically where the knee and the leg, the lower leg, connect. You know where the knee bone's connected to the leg bone? Yeah.
I've heard that one. But he seemed to be moving around very well today in practice, and he talked about the fact that that was the first time he'd ever injured anything on his body. He said he hurt his thumb when he was 4 years old, he Gabe Pruitt, but he said he's a quick healer. He's going to start his rehab once he gets back to Los Angeles. The doctors have assured him that they're going to take a look at him to see how his progress is being made in 3 weeks, but said he couldn't be without his team and wanted to be able to support him.
Well, I'll tell you what, sitting on the bench, you can't stop that. And none of the guys on the floor for the Trojans can stop that, as Appleby goes to the rack and finds himself now in double figures with 10 points. Stewart again. Man, that's his 3rd 3. And if they keep this up, we're going to have ourselves a game again, Coach.
Well, Stewart's 5th in the Pac-10 at 3-point field goal percentage at 43. So, you know, again, without pressing or forcing the issue, he's taken what's being given to him. Although the last 2 shots he's hit have been a lot early in the shot clock.
Jamal Williams. Now Williams, very streaky. 2 of 12, 10 of 14, 1 of 8, 7 of 14, 1 of 5. So you think he might be doing, guess what, tonight he's 6 of 10.
and that's what he's got to get over. He's got to become more consistent in his offense.
And he has helped the Huskies to a 21-point lead. It's getting late in Seattle for the Trojans. After muddling to an average 67 points in 3 consecutive Pac-10 losses, the Huskies have fired up the war wagon, but so has Lodrick Stewart. His first 2 games in here as a freshman and sophomore was 4 of 12, 5 of 11. Tonight he is 5 of 9, 3 of 6 beyond the arc.
Well, see how he just bounced up off that screen and took that shot, and that was a shot that he made right there in the first half where he really took it off the dribble to create that space. And when your confidence is up as high as Lodrick Stewart's is right now, boy, he starts to extend that offense, and he's very comfortable 2 or 3 feet beyond that arc and taking that long 3-point shot. But if he can get that going and then create some offense off that outside shot where he can get to the basket, maybe get to the foul line, he can certainly get himself playing well in this ballgame. Take
a look at those 3-point shooting numbers. Lodrick was the 1 for 12. He now is 14 for the game. Lorenzo Romar just wants to make sure his players maintain their intensity for the final 7 minutes and change as Dwayne Shackelford, the senior out of Washington, D.C. Little Washington, they'd call that up here.
Little Washington.
Misses both free throws.
Well, that's been one of the complaints that Coach Romar shared with us was, again, as the season progresses, you want your guys to play with more intensity as the game goes along.
Great read by Lodrick Stewart. Francis in transition is fouled by Brandon Burmeister. Huskies want a little bit of that Showtime alley-oop and read beautifully. 3 fouls now on Burmeister.
A good help side defense will always read those backdoor cuts and come over to try and disrupt a lob pass play or a backdoor bounce pass. And SC's defense is very opportunistic that way. You know, they're second in the conference in steals.
Burmeister out, Brockman back in. Francis at the free throw line. Had 8 assists against Arizona State. That matched his season and career high last Saturday. Tough guy. A lot in small package at 5'11", 180.
Yes, he really pressuring up on the basketball, and that's what just created that turnover.
10th of the night for Washington. Stewart in transition, can't finish. Brings it back from Washington and wants to run. Shackelford in Denman's pocket. Great feed for Roy. Brockman with the attempt to put back the offensive rebounding. Does not serve. USC comes away with the ball, and Williams is charged with a foul. How many shots did they take?
Boy, just great offensive rebounding. You see the extra pass right there, and Roy misses the floater. Brockman then goes up with the tip. Now he's going to secure the ball and really try to power that up on the reverse. Now watch, Nick Young and Lodrick Stewart are going to come down with the rebound, neither one wanting to part with the ball. And what can happen in that situation is you get a walk, but did they ever get bailed out?
4 cracks at the basket for Washington, and that, by the way, is the 10th common foul against the Huskies, which puts the Trojans in the 2-shot super bonus the rest of the way.
Well, now it's up to USC. You know, if they're going to have any chance of inching their way back in. It just seems like the time is going to run out on them. But the more they can get to the basket and put themselves on the line, the better opportunity they're going to have to score without the clock running, and then set up maybe some sort of a press to try and get Washington turning the ball over to convert those turnovers into maybe some transition opportunities.
Francis commits his 3rd foul, and now Washington in the 1-1. Trojans with a 14-4 run going right now. Lead at one time was 27 points.
One shot.
And that's SC in their mentality, and they reflect him for. They're not going to quit. They didn't shoot the ball well early on. They struggled a little bit on the boards, but then they got themselves back into the fight on the boards and rebounding.
You know, but he needs more energy on the bench. And the steal by Brockman. This time Williams with the jam. 15 points for Jamal Williams. I guarantee you Washington's bench got up and cheered for that. Ball stays with the Trojans. Now, the one guy you'll get some energy out of is that guy in the white shirt. Tim Floyd, who coached at Idaho, coached and took Iowa State to the Sweet 16. This is the kind of stuff that'll drive him crazy.
Well, yeah, it's that effort, and you want the effort from everybody. You want that from the guys on the bench, you want it from the guys on the floor. It's that team that's that camaraderie, one player pulling for the other. What a great play by Brockman.
Indeed. Jones will go to the free throw line. In between University of Idaho. How about Dennis Erickson going back to coach football?
That's called going full circle.
But Ben Floyd also earned his spurs at the University of New Orleans before going on to Iowa State, then went to the Chicago Bulls in that post-Jordan transition era. I'll tell you what, as a college coach, he is well suited. He did not have the right situations either in Chicago or with the New Orleans Hornets. But man, I'll tell you what, he's a teacher, and he can transmit some energy, and that's what a college team needs.
Well, I was at Weber State University in the Big Sky when Coach Floyd, he was in his last year at Idaho, and it was the one thing that you always knew you were going to get when you played against one of his teams. It's one, they were going to play hard, they were going to climb right into you on defense, and on offense, he was going to exploit any mismatch. So if he had a guy out there that couldn't guard, he was going to make sure that the guy he was guarding got an opportunity to attack him.
Boy, they break that trap, and Young with a three-pointer. Hey, if nothing else, you're going to keep building on this.
Oh, no question. You know, we talk so much about Gabe Pruitt not being with this Trojan team, but also Rashawn Cromwell, a 6'10", 15-pound freshman who's definitely going to be a factor in the Pac-10, but a shot blocker, defensive rebounder, and that has been, they won 9 games in a row with Cromwell in the lineup. He gets hurt, and then all of a sudden the Trojans start to struggle. So
you're looking at Pruitt there. Cromwell is not on the trip, and that's exactly right. And here you are, 2 young guys. This is a team. Tim Floyd had, what, 4 scholarship players?
There's 4, and he's now with 8. He's got 8 that are in uniform that can play. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned. You know, there are a lot of teams in the Pac-10 that have struggled through injury, and USC now is amongst those. But these kids that are playing right now have got to learn from these lessons and pick up the slack for one another.
Shackelford, another 3. And suddenly they are 7 of 18 beyond the arc. The Trojans are keeping this interesting.
It's this kind of confidence that had they started off the game with that kind of purpose in their offense, in their shot selection, their shot making, this might have been a different ball game.
Possession arrow off the held ball call favors Washington. 1 of 12. 6 of 6. Their last 3-point shots. Their last half dozen. Into the post, Young gets in the way, can't control. Appleby. Still plenty of shot clock for Washington, and right now the Huskies want to use that. We're going the other way.
Brockman was coming up to set a ball screen for Justin Dittman, and Dittman has to wait for Brockman to get there and get his feet set. Dittman left early while Brockman was still moving, and that puts a moving foul on your screener. Boy, the screen and roll is such a beautiful play in basketball, but there are fundamental rules in order to execute it properly. The man with the ball has to wait for the screener to come and get his feet set. Then you have to come off that screen shoulder to shoulder to put the maximum amount of pressure on the 2 defenders.
Williams got stepped on, but the ball was off of Wilkinson, who, when Njai got into foul trouble against Arizona, fouled out in 8 minutes. Wilkinson had 9 rebounds and didn't turn the ball over. This is the guy that the coach said you get 1 year to prove that you belong here. Say he helped himself. They won that ball game.
And what an opportunity. You come in, you do your best, you block some shots, you get on the board.
Brandon Roy is on the board again. 22 points. He's got a double-double, 22 and 10.
Boy, Dwayne Shackelford is so fast in the open court. Really not having a clean lane to the basket, but he made up his mind at half court that if he could get to the basket, he could probably draw a foul or get a cheap basket.
Junior college All-American at Allegheny College in Western Maryland. That was 2 years ago. First day of practice under Tim Floyd, he tore a knee ligament. That has held him back. 79% free throw shooter, though, and that leads the team by percentage. Only had 19 attempts coming in. Williams leaves. Hans Gasser onto the floor. Local guy out of Issaquah High School on Seattle's east side. Margin remains 16. USC with the pressure. Roy saves the bacon for the Huskies. And Brockman is going to be charged with the offensive foul. And that's 4. But he took a couple extra steps there too, Coach.
They might have called that. Yeah, Brockman gets that 1, 2, 3 and Brockman at 2:45. You know, that's one of those when you take it, you close your eyes.
It's one of those hustle plays, though, that Tim Floyd likes. Floor burns and bruises. It's all good with the coach. Shackelford squares up and scores again from 3. He's 4 of 5 beyond the arc, 14 points. And it's a 13-point game.
Just a different mindset with the Trojans right now. And, you know, we've said this before. If they could have started off the game with this kind of energy and confidence.
Oh, hello. My name is Lodrick Stewart, and I'm knocking on your door.
Back home.
His finest game in his return to Seattle. Romar is not pleased. USC is on a 10-2 run to close this margin to 11. Trojans were down 27 points.
Well, you see Shackelford right there. You talk about them being up 28 points and Shackelford getting his feet set. Boy, he's a streak shooter, and he's shooting the ball right now with so much confidence. Right there, just raising up on the defense, and that's a long ball. Doesn't surprise anybody.
This is a guy that came into the game. He's 4 of 5 tonight, all from beyond the arc. This is a guy who came into the ball game 2 for 21 from 3. 2 for 21.
That would be 0.09%.
Something like it. We mentioned the run, and there's the figure behind it. They've done this over the last 3.5 minutes. Don't touch that dial.
Tell you what, a stop here in the basket, and Coach Romar is not going to be pleased at all.
Appleby shot it early. Rebounding advantage is 36-22 Washington, but USC has come up with some very important ones here in the last 3-4 minutes. The trap broken. Young is gonna get the call. Brandon Roy charged with the block, his 4th personal foul.
Right there you see the rotation. Brandon Roy comes over. Nick Young tries to avoid him, and Brandon Roy slides to the left. You can see it right there.
Crowd doesn't like it, but it's a fair call. Suddenly Trojans can cut this to single digits. USC is 18 of 24 from the free throw line, 12 of 16 for Washington. That has figured in this Trojans rally.
Well, SC's doing a much better job of defending against that double team. You see the double team right there. Nick Young stepping up to the middle, and not only was Nick Young open in the middle of the floor, but if he makes that extra pass, you've got Shackelford on the side. So early on, when Washington would double that screen and roll, SC was not real comfortable, actually threw it away and then had to call a timeout. But that time, very patiently, Ryan Francis making that extra pass, and you put the ball in Nick Young's hands where now he can make a play.
Young now 12 of 14 on charity, 27 points. Had his career high of 32 against Washington State in mid-January. He's pushing that. 13 of 15 from the free throw line. Washington led 67-40 midway through this half. Since then, Trojans have outscored the Huskies 30-12. And the trap broken. Burmeister going to bring it back out and use some clock.
Smart play.
Roy from 3. That's what leaders do.
And that was a smart play. Boy, pull that ball back out and
Shackelford travel.
Shackelford with the right idea early in the possession. You know that the score clock is going to be against you. Trying to drive and draw contact to again get that clock stop, have an opportunity to shoot some free throws, but took too many steps without enough dribbles. If you're going to attack the basket, you got to make sure you get a shot off. Can't turn it over. Down 12.
Francis steps into Appleby. Still 1-1. 9th team foul. 4th foul on Francis. Good teams do sometimes survive. And Lorenzo Romar at this point might put this in the survival column. But they still need to keep going.
Right, but when your weakness, as you perceive it as the head coach, is that we're not playing with the kind of intensity for as long as we need to be playing. You know, you start off in the preseason and maybe your guys are playing hard for 28 minutes. Well, by the time you get halfway through the conference, you want to make sure that your guys are playing the same kind of intensity at the start of the game for 38 minutes. And that's been something that has been of great concern to Coach Romar, that the Washington Huskies haven't played hard for long periods of time in ball games.
That date on Saturday against the conference leader UCLA, which tonight won its 20th game and its 10th in conference. That ought to get your attention. Young doesn't get the bounce. Ball was halfway down the cylinder, comes out, and now Washington can take its time. How about it? Tim Floyd comes in here with what? 5 freshmen, a couple of sophomores, 2 juniors, and a senior. And they erase a 27-point deficit.
And he said he was going to find other ways to try and make up some of the scoring that they were going to lose with Pruitt. And certainly Shackelford has been one of those answers.
Stewart has played a big role in this comeback, but mishandles the ball. Detman picks his pocket. Smart decision.
Roger probably should have given that ball up and then kept going to try and either get that return pass on a give and go, or at least be in a position. He had Shackelford on the wing.
1 minute left to play. 1 minute.
With contact out at midcourt. Justin Denton wears number 5 because his mother, who was a high school star in her own right in Carbondale, Illinois, wore 14. So 1 + 4 is 5. Stephanie Denton gave birth to Justin when she was 13 years old. And that story was chronicled today in the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. And it was a story of love and perseverance and family bonding. And these days, about one proud mama who is watching her son make his mark in the Pac-10 Conference.
Well, Dittman, starting off this season, got a lot of minutes in that preseason. And when you have a freshman point guard, especially at this level, there are going to be a lot of ups and downs. There are a lot of lessons to be learned. And throughout all of this, I think Dittman has continued to grow. You know, he had the bad weekend last weekend, as did his ball club, but overall, his progress as a leader out here on the floor and a decision maker, I think, has improved throughout the course of this season.
Washington will go to 6-5 in the Pac-10 and break that 3-game conference losing streak. Huskies will go to 17-5 overall. USC now with consecutive losses to fall to 6-6 in the league and 15-8 overall. Tim Floyd, nobody ever likes to lose, but he certainly has to appreciate the effort his guys gave him when they could have easily not only been left for dead by the fans here in Seattle, but could have left themselves for dead. Traveling call to put the ball back in USC's hands for the remaining not quite 34 seconds. No shot.
I think when USC watches this film, and Coach Floyd will certainly break this down, the difference in how they started this game in the first half and how they started the game in the second half, I think, are night and day. and that's certainly going to be a teaching point or something to build on for his ball club, especially in light of the fact that they're going to be playing for some time without Brewer.
UCLA comes into the building on Saturday. USC will trade places, and as the Bruins come over from Pullman in Eastern Washington, the Trojans will go to the Palouse. Ever been over there? Sure you have.
Oh, many times. Washington State, you know, they've been in so many ball games, and they kind of bookended their wins. They won here, and then they didn't win a ball game until they beat Washington last week. So, you know, with that style of play, the Dick Bennett style, where, you know, they're very deliberate in their offensive approach, and they play that great defense. You know, they're a win away, another win away from, I think, turning their season around. So that would be another tough game for the Trojans.
Such a classic guy, Dick Bennett.
He's a great teacher.
Denton. 4 assists tonight. Ryan Appleby with 12 and 6. Those 6 helpers leading all comers in this ball game. So the NCAA bid lives. The dream continues for Washington. They can kind of allay that fear just a little bit. And in the final moments, Burmeister says, nah.
That's a very classy thing to do. And that's what good teams do. There was absolutely no reason to run up the score. It's a hard-fought game. Very reflective of Coach Romar and his philosophy. That was a very classy way to end this ball game.
Lorenzo Romar now 7-1 all-time against USC. Appleby with a good night. Huskies let a 27-point lead dwindle, but hang on to win. And for Larry Farmer and our production crew, I'm Brian Davis, bidding you farewell. Final score, Washington 87, USC 73. So long from the Bank of America Arena in Seattle.